Here you will.
Очень рада вас здесь видеть. Мой первый вопрос. Почему такая долгая пауза была между вашим предпоследним фильмом и «Великим мастером»? Спасибо.
Good morning. First of all, it's a long break, but actually I'm not being lazy. Because for this film I have to spend a lot of time. I spent 3 years on the road to understand different masters from different schools. Because when we were very young, we always heard stories about how amazing all these Chinese Kung Fu masters were. But I always want to find out if it is true. It cannot be told through books or like stories. I have to actually travel from province to province throughout China to interview all these masters. So at least I have a sense of how the martial artists live, what is their thoughts, and how good is their art.
Когда мы приезжали в прошлый раз в Москву с фильмом «Любовное настроение», то ваш фильм был несколько иной тональности, как всем известно, но тем не менее, мне кажется, эти два фильма объединяет одна тема. Тема невозможности поймать судьбу за хвост, что ли. То есть то, что настоящее случается только вне встречи. Это так? Если герои не встречаются, тогда происходит настоящее. А при встрече уходит легенда, уходит что-то важное. Получается, что главное не встреча, а главное то, что мыслят. Это первый вопрос. Второй вопрос. А овладели ли вы каким-либо боевым искусством? Спасибо.
Well, today I can say I know, but only as someone who can appreciate. It's like you're going to restaurants, you know, this dishes is better than that dishes, but that doesn't mean you can cook. That's my situation at this point. So I cannot fight. Don't challenge me. And the second thing, the second point is about. I think what we achieve in Intimate for Love is basically like the story about these two persons in Hong Kong. But we don't know much about where they came from. And through Grandmaster, because the film is much bigger and it tells more about these people, or the last like 100 years of China and Hong Kong. So I think it's in a much bigger scale. In times like this, there's always like missing, or you lose the opportunities for different encounters. So I think this is something that you can draw the similarities between these two films, even though they are in different contexts.
Вы сами сказали, что этот фильм прослеживает почти столетнюю историю Китая. Так расскажите, пожалуйста, что здесь было реальными историческими фактами и откуда, главное, вы их брали, а что, может быть, было вашим личным художественным вымыслом?
What draws me to the story is the life stories of Yi Man. And because when we look at this, his history, is not just a martial artist. His life basically is a shortened version or condensed version of the recent history of China. He was born in a time when China is still in monarchy, and then he went through the Republic, and then war, and then civil war, and then he ended up in Hong Kong. And through these stories we can see the time is very difficult. It is a very difficult time for this country. And through these characters, Yi Man and Gomara, you can see how hard and how true these persons who stick to their principle, stick to their code of honor, and do whatever they feel it is right for themselves and for the country.
What was most challenging to do this project? Maybe a scene to shoot, or staging the fights, or design, or whatever?
Well, it is a totally new experience for me. First of all, it is my first Kung Fu film, and I've been a big fan of this genre, but I have never made a film about this. And it is very, very hard for me to go into this world without spending so much time on it. I have to understand these people. And also it is a much bigger scale. Most of my story happened in Hong Kong, but this one, the story started in Manchuria, in the south, in the north, and then to Hong Kong. So the production-wise is much bigger and it's more ambitious. And but I think that's one of the most fulfilling experience for me, because we spent 3 years, which is quite long, together with like 200 crew members. We work in the coldest winter, we work in the hottest summer, but at the end, I think it is a really once in a lifetime experience, because it's hard to ask someone like Tony Leung or Zhang Ji to spend 3 years of their life to start practicing martial arts, go through all these hard trainings, and have to do everything like by themselves instead of stuntmen or tricks. Thank you.
Скажите, пожалуйста, вы говорили о философии кунг-фу. Если можно, что основного для вас лично дала эта философия? И что самого важного для вас? И второй вопрос у меня. Как вы на сегодняшний день оцениваете в целом ситуацию в китайском кинематографе? Говорят, что скоро он заполонит весь мир, китайские фильмы. Спасибо.
First of all, I think what I learned from martial arts is, first of all, it's something that you men believe in the film. Kung Fu, there's only 2 words, is about horizontal and vertical, and you have to stay vertical always, because that's the only one who claims is right and who has the right to say it is correct. And today I think for Chinese cinemas, because of the growth of the market, we have more chances, or we have more opportunities and resources to make films which is in a bigger scale. And also I believe we can see in the last, especially in the last few months, we can see like a lot of young filmmakers, new talents are coming out. And today I think the films are doing very well in the Chinese market. But I also believe that there should be works to make the film more accessible to the world audience.
Все ваши фильмы исключительно красивые и невероятно образные. Скажите, пожалуйста, с какими образами у вас ассоциируется Россия? Как вы понимаете и воспринимаете нашу страну Россию?
Normally we understand like a country through, first of all, is films or pictures or paintings. I think the strongest image that I have from watching Russian photographers is from Rudchenko. I think that's one of the times that is the most exciting visually. Of course, we can learn. We learned Russians from Chekhov, Pushkin, but visually that one is the strongest.
Скажите, пожалуйста, что у вас находится в вашем волшебном зеленом Москве, который находится справа от вас? Если это чай, то или какой другой напиток, используете ли вы его во время съемок? Это первая часть вопроса. И вторая часть вопроса, когда вы снимали ваш фильм «Великий мастер», в процентном соотношении, вторая часть вопроса, в процентном соотношении, когда вы снимали «Великий мастер», сколько занимал период подготовки к съемке, сколько занимал период самой съемки и сколько занимал период постпродакшена? Спасибо большое.
My way of shooting is almost like people playing with the snowballs. It started very slowly, and then when it goes down to slowly getting faster and become bigger. So normally I spend a lot of time like thinking about projects, doing pre-productions, doing research, because I have to understand not only the story, but each of the characters that appear in the film. And basically it takes like almost 60% of my time for productions. Shooting basically is relatively less time consuming. It's like for this film we shot like 22 months. And then for post-production, because I'm always late, so post-production wise I'm always like on the rush to meet the deadline. And so the proportion is like 10%. About your first questions, and this is the answer. In this small kettle, it's tea. It's a Chinese tea, so it helped me everyone during my shoots, post-productions, because I don't drink alcohol much.
Скажите, пожалуйста, последние слова мастера были о том, чтобы дочь не искала мести, но при этом, несмотря на то, что она отказалась от жизни, которую могла иметь, она все равно отомстила за своего отца. Почему?
I think in the film it's explained the father at the end of his life claims there's no revenge. Because he knows if there's only one person who can claim the revenge, it's her daughter, and that put her daughter in danger. he preferred his daughter to live in peace, to have a normal life, to be like just every happy woman to get married, to be a doctor. But at the same time, the daughter, we understand the intention of the father, but she doesn't want to oblige to it because she thinks she needs to have justice. She has to defend the honor of the father. She has to defend the honor of the family, even though he has to sacrifice a lot.
Вы сказали, что очень благодарны актерам, которые приняли участие в этом проекте. Расскажите, пожалуйста, насколько они владеют боевыми искусствами, то есть насколько сцены постановочные или реальные были? И, может быть, объясните свой выбор, почему вы выбрали именно этих актеров на роли персонажей, по крайней мере, для Китая очень известных.
Yeah, I think we really have to appreciate these actors, Tony Leung, Zhang Ji, and Zhang Zhen. They spent like 3 years of their life doing all this practice. It is, first of all, I want to do something different with, because this is my first Kung Fu film, and I can sense that Kung Fu film at certain points needs some new chapters. And this is a film that I wanted to be completely, 100% true to the technique. So they can't just work with just doubles or like tricks. They have to know the skill by themselves. And it's not only for the action scenes, but in order to play a Grandmaster, they have to went through this so they understand more about the spirits, the way, even though like the way they sit and the way they talk. And it is really hard training. It's not like just a show. Just imagine Zhang Zhen at the end of the film, he get the world national champion in China on this technique. So they are really trying very, very hard.
С одной стороны, вы вот сейчас рассказали о том, как вы тщательно продумываете каждого персонажа. У вас это занимает 60% всего времени. С другой стороны, у вас репутация режиссера, который во многих фильмах обходился фактически без сценария. Ну, в бумажном его воплощении. Просто вручали актеру буквально 2 странички, написанных от руки. Вот как было в этом фильме? Спасибо.
Basically, when you have a chance to visit my office, there's boxes of scripts of each of my films. Normally, I don't give full script to an actor because the way I see the story goes is always keep changing during the shoot. But as a writer, I have to write a lot of different versions to anticipate that. So the way we work normally is like I will just present the scripts to them before shooting that particular scene, not the whole script, because it won't change anyway. But that doesn't mean we work with just like a few pages and a few words. It's much harder than that. I wish I could do that.
Скажите, могу вы сказать, что Гонконг дал вам как режиссеру?
First of all, Hong Kong is a place that you don't have subsidies. It's almost like a wild children's. There's no rules. The only thing is you need to survive. And what I learned, because I was started making films in Hong Kong, I was learning all my skills there. So basically, it's a place that trains a filmmakers to be independent, to know how to do his work independently without relying on anything like subsidies or helps, and also to be the survivor at the end.
Спасибо вам, во-первых, за визит. Во-вторых, скажите, пожалуйста, ваши фильмы, они довольно кинематографичны, красивые, объемные, велики, и смотреть их на каком-то, скажем, на небольшом телевизоре, на экране ноутбука невозможно. Как вы считаете, вот кино должно приходить в дом?
You're right. You're perfectly right.
Должно приходить кино в дом, в квартиры, либо все-таки вот такие фильмы должны быть именно на большом экране? Спасибо.
Today, I think people make films because of all the digital technologies. People make films to accommodate different viewing experience. Some of the film can be watched on screen, and some of the film can be watched on laptop. They both serve the same purpose. But for certain films, I think it should be screened and should be watched on the big screens. So, for instance, the Grandmasters. I just want to say something is, I think Grandmaster is one of the last film productions. That means it's shot on films in China, or maybe even today, because today everybody turns digital. And so, and I'm very proud of it. And I really want the audience to look at it on the big screens, because you can see the difference, you can see the details. And I think audience today won't have, especially young audience, they won't have these luxuries in the near futures, because they will lose the touch of what films in films.
Название фильма можно легко отнести не только к вашим героям, но непосредственно и к вам самому, потому что никто, наверное, ни у кого не вызовет сомнения, что вы такой же великий мастер в кино, как и ваш герой. Скажите, пожалуйста, как вам кажется, чувствуете ли вы, что у вас есть свои ученики, кого могли бы вы выделить из молодых режиссеров? И в то же время обратный вопрос, кого вы сами можете назвать своим учителем или учителями?
It's a funny thing, because we've been discussing a lot about this, who's the Grandmaster of cinema. And so at the end of the day, we went through different names, and finally we come to one conclusion. The only Grandmasters for cinema is Sergei Eisenstein, because he started all this. And we are all just having his influence, and we are just trying to do as much as we can, and to keep, as so-called in the film, the fire burning. We want to have our experience shared with the younger filmmakers, and so we can have different diversities and to keep cinema going, and that's our goal.
Скажите, пожалуйста, а почему вы расстались со своим постоянным оператором Кристофером Дойлом, изображение которого было таким индивидуальным, которое не спутаешь ни с чем, это просто какие-то картины Мане, акварельные краски, и перешли к оператору, который снимает более выпукло, более крупными мазками?
No, we never part. Chris is my family. The only thing is, in the last few years, Chris has been very busy doing things that he wants to do. He thinks today is time for him to use his influence, his techniques to help more young filmmakers. And I think this is something that is correct and very courageous. And Philippe, who is the DP of this film, is someone I work a lot for years on commercials. And he's a person who's attached to the family. He never did much about feature film. But because of his film, he stayed away from the family and worked with me in China for 3 years, which is almost created like a family crisis for him. And I think he also did a very good job.
как вы бы предсказали, бокс-офис этого фильма на российском рынке? Второй, вы когда-то сказали, что на ваш взгляд фильм должен продлиться около 90 минут. А почему вы решили снимать фильм на этот раз свыше 2 часов? Спасибо.
Longer than 2 hours. I think this is the international version, which is the same everywhere. And it's like, and for the box office, and I think it's going to be huge. That's my wish. Thank you.
Скажите, пожалуйста, я даже не заметила, заметили коллеги, а почему вы используете в своем фильме в конце музыку из фильма «Однажды в Америке»? Какие-то параллели с этим фильмом? Спасибо.
I always consider like the Grandmaster is can be called Once Upon a Time in Kung Fu, and I intentionally use the Morricone's tracks in this film because it is as a tribute to Sergio Leone and to him. Because today I don't feel people make films like an epic, and I miss those moments. And so I want to make a tribute to both of them. Thank you.
Здравствуйте. Агент Лезвие, если не ошибаюсь, его так звали, появляется в фильме всего 3 раза. Когда дочь мастера его спасает в поезде, когда он уходит из своей организации, как я понял, и в 3-й раз, когда он встречается со своим братом в конце. В чем его история и вообще зачем нужен его персонаж? То есть какую роль он играет в этом фильме? Спасибо.
I think the character of Blade is almost like a counterpart of Yi Dai. You know, after 1949, there's a lot of Chinese, there's almost like 800 immigrants come to Hong Kong, which is a British colony at that point, to look for a new life. And because they want to have a different future. And it is a place for like exiles. Even though he's different from Yi Man, he's in more political situations. He's a rebel from his parties. But that doesn't mean that it stopped him from doing the same thing as Yi Man. To carry on the fire, to share his technique, martial arts, with the next generations. I want to show in a time like this, there's different characters, but with different consequences. We have Gomara, who's not able to teach. And we have Blade, who's able to teach, but he never get the recognitions like Yi Man. And there's only one person, Yi Man, who fulfilled this journey and to be a Grandmaster.
Так много пишут в нашей прессе о вашей личной жизни, но если не ошибаюсь, у вас есть сын, и он уже достаточно взрослый человек, лет 18-19. Если это так, да? Если я не ошибаюсь, нравятся ли ему ваши фильмы, и, может быть, именно последний фильм стал его любимым?
The only thing I can say is I started film when he was like 13, and now he's 18. And so it's, what do you think about the film? You think it's pretty cool. And that's all I can say.
Это снова я. Если хорошо коллеги молчат, можно спрашивать. А скажите, пожалуйста, вот снова о вашем фильме, ради которого мы здесь сегодня собрались. Ведь это фильм, ну вот как я его поняла, все-таки не о боевых искусствах, это как не о боевых искусствах, это как всегда эпос о жизни вас, о трагической любви, о очень непростой жизни. И каждый из нас может толковать ваш фильм по-своему. Мы, зрители, мы имеем на это право. Хотелось бы услышать вот ваши слова. О чем этот фильм? Вот как бы вы это определили?
I always want to say this is a martial art film. It is a kung fu film, but it is more than a kung fu film. It is really, as I said, it's a once upon a time in kung fu. It's about a time, a world. In this world, these people have their dignity, have their integrities and their spirits. And this is something that I want to share with the audience. And what's so interesting about these characters are, because normally we tell stories about success through materials. People become rich, become successful. But in this film, these characters, most of them are started when they are at the top of their life. They have everything, and then they keep losing it. But that doesn't mean that at the end they become the loser. Even though at the end of their life they lose almost everything, but still, they have the spirits and they achieve what they're supposed to do at the end. I think that's the reason I want to tell this story.
Можно еще один вопрос? Скажите, пожалуйста, я так поняла, что Россия – это одна из первых стран, где вы представляете свой фильм. Почему для вас важно представить именно российскому зрителю? Вам кажется, что мы его лучше поймем? И в каких странах вы еще будете его представлять? Спасибо.
This film is going to be shown in like most part of the world. And actually, I was between Russia and Japan at this point because both countries going to open the film almost at the same time. And I'm very glad to be here to present this film to the Russian audience. The thing is, I think there's certain things that that may make sense to the Russian audience because of the changes. In the last 100 years, the history of China is almost has strong associations with Russians. And I think through this film, the Russian audience may have a better sense of what this country has went through in the last 100 years.
Скажите, пожалуйста, в вашем фильме неоднократно говорится о том, что нельзя, есть такое правило, нельзя сражаться в кунг-фу с женщинами, и каждый раз это правило нарушается. На самом ли деле занимаются женщины кунг-фу в Китае, или это все-таки по запрету не из избан выходящих?
It is not prohibited, but the true fact is, in the classic martial art world, women have no places. There's no place for women. And it's like, normally, they will teach the arts from the first generations will go to the second generations, to the boys, or even to the wife, but never to the daughter. But that means, because that means it will go into another family. So it is a time that during the time of Gomara, we have seen amazing women coming out from that period. They have a very liberal sense and they want to have their positions. They have their identities. So they will do as much as they can to share the honor and to share the responsibilities. I think that's an amazing period to see all these strong women coming out at that time.
Как уже говорили мои коллеги, ваши фильмы характеризуются потрясающим именно видеорядом, это визуальное наслаждение, и я обратила внимание, что в «Великом мастере» особенное внимание уделено интерьерам и экстерьерам. Вот расскажите, пожалуйста, где вы это все снимали? То есть это был реальный Гонконг или вы строили где-то декорации? Тот же золотой павильон, он просто поражает взор.
Well, we shot in two part of China. We shot in Manchuria, which is in Shenyang, which is very close to the border, and it is very, very cold. And we shot it like for 6 months during the winter, which is freezing. And then we will build Hong Kong and the south of China, Foshan, in southern part of China. Because today it is impossible to shoot Hong Kong in the 50s because it's become so modern. And we are very lucky to find a small, like a town near Guangzhou, which owns by all these overseas Chinese. They work in the Chinatowns in like 1990. And so they have to live by themselves. They work very hard, almost like 20 hours a day. And then they save all the money and build all these small houses there. And there's a street which is remain unchanged because most of them, they didn't have the chance to go back to this town to enjoy these places. And now it is like unidentified. It becomes like a heritage. So we will be able to create Hong Kong and Foshan in 30s by this location.
Здравствуйте. Могли бы вы рассказать о своих творческих планах? И, возможно, уже ваш следующий фильм находится в разработке. И если да, то какую тему вы решили разобрать? И какие проблемы, может быть, затронуть? Спасибо.
I don't have any plan yet because I'm still in 1950s, so it takes me a while to come back.
Почему именно в 50-х годах? Это ваше любимое время?
No, just the film ends there, so it takes me a while to move on.
Здравствуйте еще раз. Такой вопрос, скажите, есть ли какие-то внятные параллели между Великим мастером и прахом времен?
Well, for Ashes of Time, it's a different genre. It's for most of the audience, they think they are like also just what's the difference between Grandmaster and Ashes of Time. Ashes of Time is what we call like wuxia, which is almost like a fantasy. The parallel is almost like Lord of the Rings. It's purely fantasized, and so you can have people flying, but a classic sense of Kung Fu film is basically something that is historically correct, and all the skills has to be obey the law of gravities. It has to be like authentic, instead of like wire or CGI.
А можно мне вопрос задать? Говорят, что вы дружите с Квентином Тарантино. Если это так, то интересно, он смотрел ваш фильм? И что он сказал?
I haven't seen him for years.
Спасибо. Коллеги, наверное, еще пара вопросов последних, если они есть, и отпустим господина Кар-Вая дальше. Ага, да.
Скажите, пожалуйста, это ваш первый раз в России? Не могли бы рассказать свое впечатление о стране, о городе? И вообще, на будущее будете ли вы использовать какие-нибудь элементы из России для своего творчества? Спасибо. 我问的问题是，非常欢迎你到莫斯科来，然后
我听见可以。The thing is, this is not my first time to visit Moscow, and I was here several times, but it was like 10 years ago. The first time I came here for promotions of In for Love, and the second time I'm doing a research here. So I know pretty well this town and also like St. Petersburg. I even went to a Russian band to have the experience get beaten up. But I like this country because I read a lot of novels, Russian novels, when I was very young. So, and it's not a strange country for me.
Извините, пожалуйста, можно еще один вопрос? Вот если сравнить все-таки, вернемся к конфу, очень часто его показывают в американских фильмах, я вот здесь, если вы видите, часто в американских фильмах показывают конфу такое, я бы сказала, на экспорт, экспортный вариант конфу. Вот как вы считаете, отличается, вот, может быть, вам хотелось как-то с этим поспорить в своем фильме и показать, какое оно на самом деле, и философию конфу? Спасибо.
No, to me, I don't think there's like a differentiation. It's almost like in a film. Is everybody can claim this is Kung Fu, but at the end, there's only two words, right? And as long as it's efficient, it is effective, and it's fine. But the only thing, the difference is, in most of the American Kung Fu films, they are talking about the technique, who's a better fighter. But here, in the Grandmaster, or from my understanding about Kung Fu, it's not only about the technique. The technique is much secondary. The thing is about the way of thinking about this martial artist, their philosophy. I think that's has a bigger meanings, because from these people you can see. My experience when I'm meeting with all these like really good masters, they are all very humble. Because today, a lot of people think martial art is sports, but in fact it is not. In a classic sense, martial art is not sports, it's a weapon. And they know they have a weapon in their hand, so they are very, very humble. Like in the film, the nature of a knife is not to cut, but to hide, but to shield. You have to make use of these techniques unless you have to. And I think that's the most interesting things about it. It's about discipline.
Ну и еще один последний вопрос.
Скажите, пожалуйста, а великие мастера смотрели ваш фильм? Что они сказали?
First of all, most of them are very, very proud because they've been very, very helpful during my research, and they have shown me what was not supposed to be shown to an outsider, because they believe this film can bring the awareness of the essence of China, the traditional Chinese martial arts. Because today, all of them are not supported by governments, they are just supported by themselves. I met so many grandmasters. They are like 90 or 70 years old, all retired, and they keep teaching, like 5 o'clock in the morning outside the train stations or park. And the youngest student of them all is like 50 years old, because they can only be focused on these techniques when they get retired. So they want to get the awareness from the younger generations so their arts can carry on. And they are very proud of the film and they are very supportive to the film.
Ну что ж, поблагодарим господина Кар-Вая за эту увлекательную беседу.
Thank you very much.